Welcome to Apothecary Talks. I'm Dr. Jillian Stansbury. This is a segment of a series of short videos aimed at teaching herbalists or beginner herbalists actions of herbs. In this segment, we're going to focus on adaptogens, and learning the actions of herbs is an important first step in becoming an herbalist. We learn different herbs known as materia medica, are medicinal materials having different actions, antispasmodics and anti-inflammatories, diuretics, and in this segment we're focusing on adaptogens. Adaptogens is an old herbal word simply meaning something that helps you adapt. The simplistic concept really goes quite deep once you study the molecular mechanisms and the physiologic effects of these very useful plants. Adaptogens are well known to affect the HPA, that stands for hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And this is the concept where chemicals from our brain in the pituitary and the hypothalamic gland will release stimulating compounds that act on our endocrine organs downstream. The adrenal glands produce adrenaline, named after the gland. Adrenaline is the same thing as epinephrine, norepinephrine, and these are our stress modulating hormones, as well as cortisol, or the glucocorticoids. Epinephrine and norepinephrine act as neurotransmitters signaling sympathetic nervous signals, while cortisol is a hormone released into the bloodstream that directs immune modulation, addresses and directs stress responsiveness. So in general, when we're constantly bombarding the adrenal glands with those psychic signals, it's an emergency, I have to meet a deadline, I need to get up and get to work, worrying about things, that it stimulates the adrenal gland to release glucocorticoids and release stress substances, or stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. We know that after many months, many years, and for many of us, decades of stressful circumstances, meaning work demands, family demands, job, house cleaning, taking care of children, and so on, that the adrenal glands can so-called downregulate. What literally that means, if there are receptors on your adrenal gland to receive those compounds from the pituitary and the hypothalamus, ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, that stimulates the adrenal gland to release the glucocorticoids and to stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. Downregulation is the phenomena of decreasing the numbers of receptors present, so the adrenal glands are less able to respond. It's kind of an adaptive, hence the name general adaptation syndrome, or adaptogens. It's a way to adapt to constant barrage of stimulating, stressful activation from the brain, and it forces the adrenal gland to kind of operate at half power for the rest of one's life, in many cases, especially if the stress continues. The symptoms can be fatigue and immune dysfunction and psychic difficulties such as depression. So adaptogens act on the adrenal gland and the HPA axis to improve stress response and glucocorticoid balance. Adaptogens are very useful in clinical practice. Almost every day in my own office, we're mixing them up for the treatment of fatigue, stress, anxiety, sleep disorders, blood sugar dysregulation, reproductive and thyroid hormone problems, anything from infertility to menstrual cycle difficulties to hypothyroidism is all linked into this endocrine balance and the crosstalk that goes on between our reproductive organs and the adrenal glands. We can use them to mitigate menopause symptoms. They also help with low sperm count, muscle wasting in elderly people, or as part of a disease process. So they're very versatile. They also have the benefit of being very safe and gentle. Some of the main adaptogens are Panax ginseng, and most of the research initially was on the types of ginseng, Panax ginseng or Eleutherococcus, sometimes known as Siberian ginseng. Also included in the list of adaptogens is glycyrrhiza, that's licorice, Withania somnifera, that's ashwagandha, Ganoderma lucidum, that is the reishi mushroom. And these are all quite gentle. Almost anyone can benefit from these. They can be used in teas and tinctures and encapsulations and many different ways to utilize these as medicines. There's also a great deal of sciencey research. I am just providing you with the basic concepts here, but the molecular research goes quite deep to look at stress signals, to look at protection of neurons, neuroprotective effects that might protect against Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, to improve hormone regulation at the cellular level, to improve glucose balance and utilization for diabetes, to have anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory effects, to help endurance athletes and muscle metabolic effects, to help balance blood sugar and protect against some of the damaging effects of high blood sugar in diabetes. And so a great deal of research looks at individual molecules in these plants and individual molecular effects on our stress hormones and on our inflammatory mediators and cytokines. So a great deal of research should you care to peruse more details. There is a picture of Panax ginseng, one of the most renowned qi tonics of all of Chinese medicine. Many adaptogens can be considered qi tonics, meaning that they support our vital force, the word for qi in China. Most of the qi tonics are adaptogens. Adaptogens and adrenal tonics can help balance stress hormones and both improve deficient adrenal function and reduce adrenaline surges. Adaptogenic herbs can be foundational in many formulas for depression and anxiety. So they're non-specific and nutritive and tonifying, so they can be a base in some of your formulas, that basic platform, and then you use other specific herbs to drive your formula in the right direction where you'd like it to go. Many mushrooms are adaptogens. Here in the photo is the reishi mushroom, Ganoderma lucidum, but cordyceps and shiitake and many other medicinal mushrooms are immune modulators, are useful for stress symptoms, are useful for cancer and immune modulatory activities. They help improve chronic fatigue. They treat allergies and reduce excessive immune activation and reduce allergic responses that are excessive, such as autoimmune or chemical sensitivity. So many different uses for the medicinal mushrooms. My textbooks, Herbal Formularies for Health Professionals, go into a great amount of detail on some of those molecular mechanisms, plus give you precise formulas for fatigue, for menstrual cycle irregularities, for autoimmune diseases, for allergies, and so on. So I refer you to the publisher, Chelsea Green. I also lead ethnobotany tours. I've studied with several different communities in the Peruvian Amazon over the last 20 years, and I lead annual ethnobotany field tours. If you're interested in joining me, you can contact me at bghealingarts.apothecary. That's my business in Washington State. And you can also visit my website, healingartsapothecary.org, where I have a great deal of free content, other links to podcasts and webinars that I've done, free PDFs to download, a blog of different article types, and we're working on building out our repertoire of recordings and recipes as well. So thanks for listening to Apothecary Talks.